Now, we all know content is a great way to add value for our audiences, to our customers, our clients, our prospects. But when we were talking about this final session, we wanted to get you thinking about a different type of content that your business can use to push it forward, to get in front of your potential customers. Whether that's yourself building your own personal brand, and regardless of where you think your position is in the company, you are a valuable piece of the jigsaw. Or maybe it's even pushing your MD out of their comfort zone and getting them on stage. So if it's the latter, you'll be absolutely beside yourself when tomorrow morning you go to your CEO, your managing director, and you give them that moment that says, mate, you've got to get out there on the stage. So, she's come from Denver, Colorado to be with us here in Nottingham today. Please go wild for our closing keynote, Phylecia Jones.
Oh wow, it's different up here. How is everyone? You do realize I am the one who stands between you and getting free liquor. So all you have to do is laugh at everything I say, nod your head so I can look good on camera, and take plenty of photos. So I am really excited about being here. We're going to talk about speaking as a way to market your business, but I really do want to give a big hand to Paul and his team. So please put your hands together. We met together last night, but I will say the one highlight so far, when Charlie came over to mic me up, he said he would come find me later so he can turn me on. So we were in the back room back there. It was great. So if you ever get a chance to get on stage, you might get turned on by somebody. So we're going to talk about getting on stage to grow your business, authority, and trust. How many of you are speakers here in the room today? How many of you are speakers that have actual speaking engagements? Oh, okay, the hands got a little smaller. Sometimes I find that a lot of speakers have trouble getting and finding stages, and that's what we're going to solve tonight. For the rest of you who do not use speaking as a way to market your business, is it because you're afraid to get on stage? Yeah? Are you afraid to say that you're afraid to get on stage? That's okay. I got you today. So, I am Phylecia Jones. I am the founder of I Find You Clothes, and it's not clothing. I actually go out and search for speaking engagements for people. I do all the research so that they can get on stage. In my personal brand, you can find me at Keep Up with Mrs. Jones. That's where you'll see my daytime life, where I am a budgetologist. I'm on a national television show where I answer personal finance questions. So if you want to talk money tonight, that's great. I usually give crazy answers after 6 o'clock and bottles of Prosecco, but they're real answers though. I'm a TEDx speaker and I've been on numerous stages, and I met Paul through another Paul that I met last year at Game Changers Live. So I'm just so honored to be here to close down this event, or at least the person that will lead you to the alcohol. So that's what I'm here for. So you can find everything you want about me over here, but let's go ahead and just get started about this. So a lot of speakers always come to me and say, hey, there's never enough events, never enough stages for me to get on. I wanted to let you know that in the UK, there are 1.3 million events happening every year, and these are business-to-business events that have and book speakers. If you don't want to speak here in the UK, you can come to the United States. It's 1.9 million. I know how to find every last stage possible in the US for you. So if you ever come to me and say, oh, Phylecia, there's just never enough events, I will go toe-to-toe with you and say that you're probably lying. Because there are 3,500 plus events held every day in the UK. Like, as we are speaking, other people are waiting to get to the alcohol too. So you can get on stage and events like this, and you guys are going to catch me because I do have a misspelled word. In our speaker rules, Paul said don't make him upset, so I didn't want to change my slides at the last minute. But venues on average have 428 conferences and meetings. So if you're ever looking for places, you can start with places like this. On average, they have over 400 events. So remember that when you are looking for places to market your business, because the goal is we have to get out there and get known. So one of the biggest factors to marketing on stage is consistency and credibility. These are two C words that hit us every day as business owners. Who love being consistent every day? Wow, we don't have enough business owners being consistent. That's your theme next year, Paul. Consistency and credibility are the biggest things, because what I have found, I'm going to give you a little bit about my experience with speaking, is that when you are consistently on stage in front of people, it really does help your brand and your business and help your company grow. And the credibility is paramount. So when I put all of those logos on stage, it wasn't just because I'm just showing you how fabulous I am, which I really am, but I'm actually just showing you that some people actually value the credibility that you bring with showing that you've been on stages and in front of companies who have either hired you or booked you. So what we're going to talk about today is why speaking works to market a brand, business, or company. We're going to talk about working the room and looking beyond the audience, and I'm going to give you some tips that you can actually use today, especially for my speaker friends in the back. I'm not going to pick on them too much, but I want to make sure they hear what I have to say as well. And how to get started getting on stage and gaining credibility. For those of you who are needing more speaking engagements, please pay attention. And we have a really huge announcement, so don't leave. Don't leave. Trust me, it's going to be a fun one, because that'll drive me to come back next year. So I do a lot of my speaking just so I can travel. I only started my business so I can travel. People said I had to do work in between, so this is what I do. All right, so Grant Cardone, he is the author of The 10X Factor, and I love this quote. Obscurity is the biggest challenge facing small business owners. That means nobody knows who we are. And this is going to be the challenge we are going to be facing every day as we're growing our business. Because if your cat and dog are the only people who knows that you have a business, you will have trouble, okay? So just remember that this is the biggest thing that we have to face as business owners on a regular basis. So we're going to talk about why speaking works to market a brand, business, or company, because I really do believe in this. So it helps when it comes to marketing because it gives your business and brand credibility. You know what? People honestly believe that just because you're on stage, you actually have something to say, because Paul wouldn't just bring anybody up here on stage. So people instantly will give you credibility, and you get to put these cool little logos on your website, because now you're tied to every other speaker that has been on stage with you and to that event. Now, you can also become known and build a following. I did a podcast and a live stream every day. I did a live stream daily for 2 years, and I built up a little following, but I also built up a following speaking. And one of the young ladies came out about a week ago. She said, Phylecia, I actually put on a bra so that I can come see you speak. And I was like, your boobies and your bra appreciate it, and so do I. So this is what happens when you get out there on a regular basis. People can come and start following you, because speaking is a long game. I'm sure some of my speakers will tell you, and some of you who have been on stage, sometimes someone can see you on stage today and may want to do business with you next year after they see you speak twice. So this is the part of being consistent, always being out there in front of people so that people can have a face to a name, so that we can start building this relationship so that we can go and make money. Now, like I said, I'm a budgetologist, so I have no problem talking about making money, because I assume everybody in here wants to make money, right? Oh, wow. Does everybody want to make money in here? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Just making sure I'm in the right room. Because if you're working for free, oh, wow. Let's have a round in the bar tonight. Marketing is a great way to explore markets, industries in real time. Now, a lot of us, we assume who we want to work with, but this is a great way to start spreading yourself out to see who you actually want to work with. One of the cool things about speaking is that you can become a unicorn inside of a market. Now, I typically go and speak in front of travel conferences. Because amazingly enough, you go to travel conferences and these people go all over the world, but they never have anyone coming in to talk about money. So now that I go to these travel conferences, I always get booked for another one, and I have become the go-to person as the money person in these travel worlds. So becoming a speaker and exploring these different markets, you can actually find yourself being the only person in a market so that everybody can come and do business with you because they don't know anyone else. And this is a great way to set yourself apart, because sometimes if we're only marketing, I think somebody mentioned in the panel, if we're only making content and marketing to our friends, we're probably not going to be making a lot of money. So I really want you to think about speaking as a way to explore different markets. And then, of course, it's an effective form of content marketing. I'm pretty sure everyone today who popped up their website, you'll probably go to their website, download their content, and become hooked. That's what happens when you are a speaker. They all presented it to you today, but it's a great way to get your content out there to the masses. Instead of one-to-one, it's one-to-many at one time, okay? The other thing is that it's a great way to do lead generation. Now, I know Teresa, she uses speaking as a way to generate leads. It hands down works. So it closes the know, like, and trust gap a lot faster when you are here on stage. So this is one of the things I really want you to think about. And it is also, you have the ability to close clients faster. I'm actually going to show you how you can close clients in the room so that you can take out a few of those steps when it comes to your sales funnel if you utilize speaking. And it generates word of mouth referrals. I have to say that every time I've gotten on stage, I have gotten referrals in some form of fashion. Either for another speaking gig or for someone who saw me speak and said, hey, I have someone who has a service that you need to try out. It is a great way to do word of mouth because, like I said, when you're up here on stage, you become the instant expert. And you don't get on stages just because somebody has a stage. So this is where word of mouth absolutely works for you when it comes to speaking. Now, I wanted to let you know that if you have any questions, I will be here all night and actually fly back home on Thursday, so definitely we can talk about anything. So this is a quote from Anthony Bourdain. Like I said, I am a huge travel lover, and I love Anthony Bourdain before he passed. But I like this quote because it says, for a dinner date, I eat late all day to save room, then I go all in. Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but when I walk into a room, I get hungry and I start paying attention. Now, my background is in computer science. I have a bachelor's in computer science. I have a master's in systems engineering, and I was a research scientist for the U.S. Navy. So I learned how to do social hacking, I learned how to do hacking, and I know how to network, and I know how to do tons of research. So that's what happened with me when I was finding speaking gigs. And so when I walk into a room, I really just start observing what is going on so that I can figure out what's the best way for me to market my business and my brand. So we're going to talk about working the room and looking beyond the audience. And this is where a lot of speakers get trapped. They get trapped in this assumption here. There's this stage and there's this audience. This is where we all get trapped up as speakers because we assume our job is just to come talk to this audience, leave, get some pretty photos, and get home. I have a quick question for you. It's a trick question, not really. But as a speaker, who is your client when you get up on stage? Ah, got it. The audience is not your client when you get on stage, it's the event organizer. Because here's what happens as a speaker. My job today is to make Paul happy, or Biz Paul happy. And because, like I said before, if I don't do a good job, he's not going to refer me. He's not going to refer me for business. He won't give me a good testimonial when it comes to being on stage. And also, I'm a speaker coordinator. I book speakers and place them as well. And in our community, we all talk to each other. And we all gossip. People don't gossip, right? But if you don't do great on one stage, I'm liable to tell somebody else you're not going to be great on their stage. So remember, when you walk into a room, your client is that event coordinator, and your job is to dazzle the audience so that he can give you more referrals or be invited back the next year especially if it's your audience. So for all of my speakers, don't make this assumption when you walk into a room, okay? This is the reality. You have sponsors and vendors. So when we're looking at ways to market what we are doing, I want you to start paying attention to who is in the room, who is part of the event. Like, we're all trying to get corporate clients, okay? So there are tons of vendors here today, and we assume that they have money to do business with us. So you're going to go make friends with all of these other people because they are most likely going to be able to give you money to do business with them. And the cool thing about these vendors and sponsors, you can find out who they are before the event happens. Like Paul has sent this out over the last few months. Now, a lot of us as speakers, we assume we're trying to get the audience emails. Most event coordinators will never give you the audience list. Some will, but most won't. Most responsible ones won't. But the sponsors and vendors, that's who you can start targeting. So start looking at all of the sponsors and vendors around here. One, we can make an assumption that they have money to spend on marketing, and they may have money to do business with you, especially since you are all marketers. The other thing is I want you to open up this room a little bit bigger. So we got from sponsors to audience to vendors. Now we have prospects, clients, and event hosts. For all of my speakers in here, how many of you invite your clients to see you speak? Do we do it on a regular basis? How many of you invite your prospects to see you speak? All right. How many of you who are trying to get on more stages invite event hosts to see you speak? Oh, the hands went down. Remember, we'll start with the prospects and clients here. This is the best way to convert a client. We talked about videos, we talked about ads, but sometimes if you can get them in the room to see you do your thing, you might be able to close them at the end of the day. That's the cool thing about speaking, is that it does close that know, like, and trust gap a lot faster than most things that we're out there doing. Not to say that other things are wrong, this is just what's worked for me. The other thing is your clients. They are your walking testimonials. If you bring your clients into the room and you strategically place them next to your prospects, you just have them talk great things about you the entire event. Or you could be like me, invite some friends that you know, so that if you're bombing, they'll just start screaming. So, see, yeah, I got one friend in a room. Always have a plan, you know. But this is a great way for you to get your prospects and your clients into a room, because some of us with our clients, we are 2 steps from not getting their money again. So they might need to be reminded of why they started working with you in the first place. So don't ever forget this aspect when we are opening up this room and considering speaking as a way to market us. Now for event hosts, for my people who are speakers, this is a great way to invite them to see you do your thing. In the speaking world, people are spending $15,000 to $25,000 for speaker reels to get on their website. And one of the cool things that I learned from Paul is Paul doesn't actually like speaker reels. He actually likes to see you give a real talk. Amazing how that works. And I'm one of those people, when I book speakers for the groups that I have in Denver, Colorado, I actually want to see you talk. And because I do go out and find speakers, I go and see them in action. And that is probably the cheapest way for you to get people in the room without spending tons of money on a speaker reel. Not to say that they're bad, but this is one of the best ways to convert people right here in the room right now. And the other thing is the event staff. So we know that we have the gatekeepers for anyone in any business. And usually it's the event staff. And we have an amazing event staff today. So if you dazzle the event staff, sometimes you might be able to get on the stage. And I want to bring this up because one of the young ladies that I actually worked with, I call it a one and done. What a lot of us speakers will do, we will come up here, get on stage, and then we get into our Mariah Carey diva moment, and then we just go home because we think we're just amazing. And then we decide that, you know what, this room wasn't a great audience for us. When sometimes you needed to stay and talk to all these different people. That event staff will get you closer to that event coordinator. Sometimes if you stay for the rest of the day, you may not need to shut down the party with them, but if you stay long enough, you'll get all the insights of how they actually select their speakers, how they get people on stage. Because we're always in a room where we're just like, I want to be on that stage next year, right, Nicole? We're always like, I want to be on that stage next year. Sometimes if you hang out with these people, they'll let you know. And one of the things that I have learned is that, I'm open to bribery. And I'm pretty sure Paul is open to bribery. So Paul, what kind of gifts do you like? He likes all the gifts. So make sure all the gifts go to Paul in case you want to get on this stage next year. So, not that I take bribes, but I actually do take bribes. No. So remember, we have a huge room when it comes to using speaking as a way to market. Never assume it's just the audience. You have these sponsors and these vendors. And my business coach told me a few years ago when she was starting her business, she said the biggest thing that we need to do every morning we wake up is ask ourselves, who needs to know my name today? And this is how I started using speaking and running my business when I first started. I got up every day and said, who needs to know my name today? So when I walk into a room, I try to figure out who needs to know my name when I am in this room. So we have plenty of ways so that we can make speaking work for us, and it's not just the audience. Everybody good so far? Yes. Everybody's brain about to blow up? That's okay. It's going to be fun. It's free alcohol. I love it. So here's another quote that I like, is lack of focus is lack of greatness by Jerry Seinfeld. Has anybody seen his show, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee? Okay, it's a really cool show. And this popped up when he was interviewing Eddie Murphy. And Eddie Murphy doesn't get on camera very often. And they were talking about the state of comedy and how there seems to be no great ones anymore. Because we can get so distracted with so many things. Because comedians can be actors, they can be podcasters, they can be radio hosts. And this is kind of what happens when we're in the business world. There are so many ways for us to market our business. There's no wrong way, there's no right way. We just have to choose a way that works for us, and we have to actually focus on it. So I really do like this quote of lack of focus is lack of greatness. And we're going to talk about focus when it comes to getting started, getting on stage and gaining credibility. So here's where you want to take tons and tons of notes, okay? So how to get started. So we're going to focus on research. Like I said, my background is in research, so this is what really worked for me to get on stage. And this is what I've noticed just being on the other side and selecting speakers for events as well. The first thing is, I know we don't like this, but you need to break up with your avatar. It's like the bad boyfriend that's keeping you from that next great relationship. So when it comes to speaking, I need you to break up with your avatar at least for 6 months, okay? Because what happens is we get stuck in our little, I know you all see niche over here, I say niche. We get stuck with this one person that we want to talk to, and we assume we can find them in the room. So what happens is that people come up to me and they say, okay, Phylecia, I serve women with 3 legs, one peeking on their left hand, and they're in pain. And then I'm just like, so where can I find women with 3 legs, one peeking on their left hand, who absolutely say they're in pain in one room? And most people say, I don't know, that's your job. No. Here's the thing. If you don't know how to get yourself on stage, I won't be able to help you find your audience and get on stage as well. And sometimes that avatar, that niche, is getting in the way because remember, our goal is we need to be known. And if you're just getting started, sometimes you need to put your feelers out to everyone so they can figure out, so they'll know who you are so that you can keep moving forward. So I want you to get rid of that avatar for just a little while. You don't have to do a complete breakup. Just take a vacation. You're in a different time zone, so it doesn't matter. So research your industries and associations. So when you're getting out there looking for your next stage to get on, I want you to start looking at that industry, at those industries and associations. You'll be surprised that, like I said, there are 3,500 events happening right now in the UK. And one of the cool things that I found when I'm researching speaking engagements and stages for people to get on is that there are so many things out there. So I have been able to find entire conferences on haunted houses. I know it sounds weird. I know everybody's like, oh gosh, who wants to run a haunted house? But when you start looking at these industries and associations, I want you to look at the topics and the experts needed. Because what was so fascinating when I started doing my research on haunted houses, they were looking for social media, digital media marketing, employee engagement, because it makes sense, they got to get employees to show up for at least 2 months, and health and wellness, and personal growth. So when you're out there looking at all of these different industries and associations, like I said, get out of your niche and bring it up just one level. I want you to look at the topics and the experts that are needed, because they're all looking for the same thing. And I know since we're all, everyone in here is a social media manager or social media person, right? Yes? No? Kind of? Marketing? I'll say marketing. What was interesting is that most of these industries, from tech, haunted houses, women's empowerment, all of these industries are all looking for the same thing. Marketing is a big one that's up there. So marketing, social media marketing, digital marketing, health and wellness. So look at those different topics and figure out where you are so that you can pitch properly to get under these categories. And one of the cool things I'll tell you about a little bit later is that one of my clients, actually I'll tell you about my friend Jackie. So when I go to my money conferences, I go to FinCon, which is a financial bloggers conference, and every year I try to get my friend Jackie to pitch to be a speaker. Now Jackie does creative retreats with painting and travel, so it was all kinds of cool woo-woo things, and I love those woo-woo things. And I said, you need to go and speak at this money conference, and her instant reaction was like, no, I don't like money people, what would I have to say to them? And I said, okay. And the next year, when I looked at this schedule, all of a sudden there was a talk on how to be creative and travel the world. I was like, well, there you go, Jackie. You know, sometimes we have to get out of what we think we're doing and look at the topics that were absolutely out there. And I'll tell you about one more of these as well. So the other thing is, when you're researching your industries, look at the topics and the experts that they are looking for. And this is where it's going to take you more than 10 minutes to do research. I need you to focus on who is in the room. Now, for those of us who are trying to get corporate clients or trying to move up out of working with solo entrepreneurs, you need to focus on who's in the room, because this will let you know what kind of room it is. Look at the sponsors and look at the vendors. So when you're on the website, start looking at everything that's there. And if someone is, and if a company is there that you want to work with, this is hands down one of the best ways for you to get in front of them. Because remember, when we go back to that room, we want to try to get these vendors and these sponsors to come see us talk, so that we can try to convert them into a prospect right then and there. So I want you to focus on who's in the room. Also pay attention to the other speakers. One of the cool things that I have done is that when I was talking about money, I actually had this other business where I do research. So other speakers were my main clients. So I would go and do my cool thing on the stage, but I would actually book other speakers while I'm at the speaker parties and doing things like that. So make sure you pay attention to everything that's happening. Those other vendors, those sponsors, and those other speakers that are on the stage with you, because these are all potential clients and potential people for you to market to. Now, the other thing that comes with speaking is that you have to dedicate the time. And I know this is the biggest struggle for a lot of people who want to use speaking as a way of marketing their business. For me, what I did for about 18 months was that I gave 8 hours a week for research and pitching. And I would sit down all day, turn off the phone, nobody would eat in my house. Granted, we don't have kids, so everybody can forage for themselves. But 8 hours, all I would do was research and pitch. I wouldn't do sales calls. I would just sit there and pitch myself so that I could go and get on tons of stages. Now, For those of you who say, well, I just don't have time, I'll try to give this to a VA. Remember, if you don't know how to get yourself on stage, no one else will know how to get you on stage because they don't know you, they don't know how to pitch, and they may not know exactly what you talk about when it comes to getting in front of certain audiences. Also, make room for follow-up activities. How many of you love following up with people? Oh, I got a good giggle. I love that. In the 4 years that I have booked speakers, I've only had one person who's ever followed up with me after pitching me one time. And I've been booking speakers for 2 different groups. And she kept with it, and I could tell by the 4th email, and it wasn't that I was purposely ignoring her, but by the 4th email, she did a phone call, and the last one was what sealed the deal. She actually gave me a flattering comment. She said, Phylecia, I saw you speak 2 years ago, and you're amazing. I was like, oh, okay, you can come speak now. Remember, when you're doing your research, it's not so much just researching the company, but also research your speaker coordinator. On the other side, these are just humans. And so sometimes you may need to take that extra step to figure out what they like so that you can get in front of them. And flattering and gifts, they do help. So make room for your follow-up activities. Don't be a one and done. Make sure you follow up on a regular basis. You know, you don't have a no until they tell you no. And the other thing is share your speaking duties with your team. How many of you have teams in here? We have a few people with teams. So here's the cool thing about sharing your speaker duties is that we talked a lot about diversity and getting out to different groups. This is where you want to put your team into different communities. You really want to pay attention to how you can use the people who don't mind getting on stage so that you can have a consistent face and a consistent person with your brand out in the community. Now, I like to go to WordCamp events. Anybody ever go to WordCamp events here? Now, the cool thing about WordCamp events is that it really is like a tight-knit family. But if you go on a regular basis, people will start to get to know you and eventually want to do business with you. Now, for my founders in here, you may say, you know what, I don't want to do the WordCamps, I want to go get on the bigger stages. That's great. You can go get on the bigger stages while somebody else in your team can go to the local events. Remember, our goal is to get our brands and our companies known. If it's just us solo entrepreneurs, then we have to do this ourselves. But for companies, you can disperse your team so that there's a regular and consistent person showing up for your company at all of the 3,500 events that are happening like today and tomorrow here in the UK, okay? So don't be afraid to share the speaking duties. And I know some of us, we all want the lights and the stage to ourselves. There's plenty of stages out there for you. So, and I wanted to let you know that I'm not one of those speakers where I'm just talking at you about this, but I actually did this for my business. And this is while I was growing my money coaching business. And what was interesting to me is because I avoided speaking like the plague. I was on team, build a website, make $1 billion. That has not happened yet, so I actually had to go out and do some work. But what was cool about speaking was that I built loyal followers and customers. And I realized that I was never going to be able to compete with trying to grow a huge list. You know, I'm not a big marketing person. I'm a scientist and a nerd. So I had to go figure out the one thing that worked for me, and that was speaking. But I was able to grow a following. Whenever I did go out and speak, I was able to close the room at about 60% to get people on my email list. And the interesting thing about it is that I have a 40% email rate. I know the typical rate is about 10%, but Teresa said this last night, is that I can literally go to my email list and I know exactly where all of those people come from. And it's a weird one, but I can kind of figure it out. But the cool thing is that when I actually decide to sell something, they actually buy from me. They actually show up to my speaking engagements, and they send out referrals. So my list is small, but it is very, very powerful, and I built that from speaking. I get clients and gigs every time I speak, hands down. I will probably walk out and go to a client. So who's going to be the lucky person? I don't know. We drink a lot of Prosecco. Thanks, Victoria. But I always get a client and I get gigs every time I speak. So it's like the gift that keeps on giving because this is from the referrals. And then I've grown my branded business through word of mouth, and it's been really cool doing that as a business owner. And on the other side of it, it's just been a lot of fun. I have met so many amazing people. Like I said, I just love to travel. And this is one of the cool things that has happened, that I get to travel all over the world doing this. It has opened up so many doors of monetized opportunities. I'm on a television show in the United States, which came from me speaking at an event, and someone gave the referral to the TV show looking for a money person. I MC tech events. I'm actually doing my first Women in Tech keynote in a couple of weeks as soon as I get back home. I've been on TEDx stages, and I've been on all of these other stages, and a lot of that has been from referrals, because this has been the only way that's really worked for me to get my business up and growing. And radio interviews and television segments, so it absolutely has worked for me, and I hope that it will work for you. And like I said, if you have any questions around anything, I'm going to be here tonight. My goal is I really want to help you get on as many stages as possible. I'm not really selfish with the information. I'm pretty open about most things, so I like talking about stuff all the time. So like I said, my business is I Find You Close, and it takes the guesswork out of finding speaking engagements. So what I do, I actually go out and research, and I send out speaking leads. I do the research, I figure out who, what, when, where, whether or not they're paying, and what the event is good for. And you can go get more information on I Find You Close. It's like $20 a month, and it's really cool. It is a lot of fun. But also, if you have questions, just text me. And one of the great things about this, I've been able to help quite a few people. So Twyla, she was one of those people. I forced her to apply for this Quicken Loans event. So Quicken Loans is a Fortune 500 company, and it's an IT conference. Now Twyla does not know anything about tech. She's a personality science person, meaning she likes those personality quizzes. That's what she does. So we were able to get her in under personal growth and development. This is why I want you to pay attention to those topics when you're researching getting on stages. So we're able to get her in, and this is going to be her doorway to try to get more corporate contract with Quicken Loans and Intuit in the United States. South by Southwest, anybody heard of South by Southwest here? Okay, so Summer called me last year, and she was just starting her business in Dallas, and she just needed a way to get out and start marketing herself. So we did some research. South by Southwest is a large music festival in Austin, Texas. But on the backside, what most people don't know is they actually have speakers that come in. And what we did with her was we pitched a panel. Sometimes when you're just going for credibility, pitching a panel is the easy way, just so that you can get that cool logo on your website. So she did that and was able to get on stage at South by Southwest. And this is my friend Andy Wang. He got on stage at Inbound this year, and I think he was talking about podcasting. So I just get really excited with just helping people find the stages that belong to them, and so that they can get out there and market their business. So this is just some of the things that I do when I'm not talking about money on the Saturdays when I'm just on the sofa. But I just have so much fun doing this. And we've talked about a lot. So we talked about why speaking works to market or brand our business. So remember, our goal is we have to deal with obscurity, and we need to make sure that everyone knows who we are when we're growing our business. We talk about working the room and looking beyond the audience. There are other people other than the audience in here. Remember, we have those vendors, we have sponsors, we have other speakers, we have event hosts. These are all people that are potential referrals and potential clients. And don't forget, start inviting your prospects and clients to every gig that you have that's public. If it's private, you don't want to do that because they have rules about that kind of stuff. And then we talk about how to get started getting on stage and gaining credibility. Do the research. Research those industries and associations. Look for the topics needed and the experts needed. Break up with that avatar just for a little while so that you can see the bigger picture. And remember, those topics are going to be the key for you to get in the door for those gigs. And this is how you're going to gain credibility. Now, we're getting to the end of this, and this is a quote from me. I created my own quote. It's like, opportunities don't fall in your lap, you create them. And this happened because a couple of years ago I went to ThinkCon, and you ever go to a conference and you find that one person in the room where you can do the woe is me story, like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And the whole time they're like, yeah, I get it. It's hard. I cry a lot at night too, you know. So I met a friend there. His name was Marcus, and he does the Paycheck and Balances podcast. And so we sat there the whole time, and we did woe is me for at least 2 hours, and then we ran out of drink coupons. And I was just like, well, at least somebody else is like me. They're struggling in business. And fast forward, like 6 months later, I'm in bed. I wake up at 5 a.m. and I read the news. And I see Marcus's face on the front cover of a big national newspaper. And I was like, what the heck just happened? So, of course, I'm just sitting there waiting for my husband to wake up, and he wouldn't wake up. So I had to sit there on this news story just waiting and waiting for him. Eventually, he woke up 3 hours later. It's a Sunday morning. He doesn't wake up early. So I'm going back and forth pretending that I'm not working in my office. For those of you who have families, you know what I mean. So I'm going back and forth pretending, and I run out of my office, and I walk into my husband. I was like, oh my gosh, I just figured it out. Opportunities do not fall in your lap. You have to go and create them. And I started telling this whole story to my husband about Marcus, about ThinkCon, about the newspaper. And he's like, what? And I was like, haven't you been paying attention? He was like, no. Of course, that's my husband. And I was like, it's the opportunities. I have to go out and create them. And he turns and looks at me and he says, you've been in business for 3 years. You haven't figured this out yet? I was like, whatever. And then I just walked back into the office. Because to me, I had to have that light bulb moment that if I wanted to go out there and make myself known and make things happen, you know, I have to go out and just create these opportunities myself. They don't really fall in your lap. And like I said, I am here to help you any way I can. You can text me, just don't text me after 9 o'clock. You get crazy answers. But my goal is to help you as much as possible because these opportunities are out there. There are other ways that you can market your business because people need your talents, your skills, and your knowledge so that you can be successful and they can be successful as well. So that is my time. Thank you so very much. And if you have questions, you know where to find me.